All right, welcome to Backstreets Back, a podcast. I'm Taylor.
I'm Lori.
I'm Medina.
And I'm Melly.
And we have a very, very special guest today. I'm so excited. I got my Row Red nail polish on. I'm prepared. We meeting with and talking with, I'm so excited, the lovely Rochelle Mclean. As you know, she's most known as the makeup artist to the stars, Rochelle Mclean, and she's also married to some guy in a band, but we'll talk about him a little bit later. Some guy, I don't know. I don't even know his name. I think it's like some A name. I don't know. But, so we brought her on today. She very kindly, very acceptedly. Thank you, Medina, for bringing our wonderful guest on. But all jokes aside, she is our first Backstreet Boys wife that we brought onto this podcast. And there's really no one else I could think of first but her. So it is such a huge honor. And we will bring her in from the waiting room. How are you all feeling today? I'm excited.
Excited.
Yes.
Can't wait.
All right. All right. So without further ado, hello. Hi.
Hi.
Can you hear us?
Oh, it says you're connecting.
Yeah.
There. It says
There
you're
you
connected.
go.
Hello.
Okay, there. Hi.
Hi.
Well,
How's it going?
good. How are you?
Good.
Thank you so much for coming on to our podcast. This is Backstreet's Back, a podcast, and we are so honored to have the beautiful, sassy, and also classy Rochelle Mclean. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes. We so with obviously I have to start by saying I am so excited to have you on. It's such a privilege and an honor. And we asked our fans for questions, and I have to say that out of all the guests we've had, we had such a slew of questions, but also comments talking about just what a beautiful soul and personality you are, how excited everybody is to get to know you, and just really just love and adore you so much. So I just wanted to tell you it was lots of positive, lovely feedback about you. So we're very excited to have you on.
Thank you. I'm flattered.
Yes.
That's
yes,
so kind.
So usually what we do, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Taylor. We have our other co-host here. I know you are familiar with Medina.
Yes. Hi, Medina.
We have Melly. Have you and Rochelle met
Oh my
before?
God, I'm really terrible at Zoom.
Oh, Rochelle and I have met before, yeah.
And we have
Yes. Hi, Lori.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So what we usually do for all of our first-time guests is, have you ever been familiar with the show Watch What Happens Live?
Yes, with Andy Cohen.
Yes. There is a segment called
I've heard. I've never seen it.
Never seen it? Okay. So Andy Cohen has a segment called Plead the Fifth. And so it's a fun little icebreaker we're going to do where we'll ask you 3 questions, and you can only plead the fifth to one of them. So you'll have to answer the other 3. But if you don't want to, you could say plead the fifth and then we'll skip it. But that means that whatever the next question is, you're going to have to answer it. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Number 1, on a scale of 1 to 10, number 1 being absolutely hate, number 10, absolutely adore. Scale of 1 to 10, how much do you love starring in Backstreet Boys AJ music videos?
Oh, that's like a 2.
I figured as much. Which video did you dread doing the most, if you don't mind me asking?
I think No Place was the worst because we had been evacuated from the Woolsey fire, which was the really bad California fire in 2018. We had been evacuated. We had lived in a hotel for like a month at that point. And we had just gotten into a rental house that we, were staying for like 45 days. And living off of room service and fast food, like I wasn't feeling the best about myself. Gained quite a few pounds from like the stress and room service, of course, right? And so, and it was just like sprung on me like 2 days before. It was like, oh, we have to do this thing for No Place. And I was like, well, why do I have to be a part of it? And he's like, well, everyone's going to be in it. And I'm like, well, nobody asked me and I didn't agree to this. And like, I don't want, that's why I'm like, have such a small part in it. And like, I was just like, no, I'll sit at the table with you, I'll drink like a cup of coffee or something. And then like that, I don't want to be in it as much as possible. And then kind of same with the Florida Georgia line one, where it was like, I was pregnant and really not feeling too good about myself, common theme here. And so yeah, but No Place definitely was like, yeah,
Oh
I did not. I mean, and it came out so cute, but
yeah. You did look so cute in it, but I could totally see like AJ sitting to you and you're like, you MFer, what are you doing bringing me? We're going to talk about this after this video. I swear to God, we're going to talk about it. But no, I loved all the videos. I get it. All right, good. So far, so good. Number 2, a while back, years ago, before AJ, you mentioned that you had a favorite Backstreet Boy. Who was that Backstreet Boy before AJ that was your favorite?
I didn't necessarily have a favorite Backstreet Boy. I had a favorite NSYNC member.
Oh, that counts.
My favorite NSYNC member was Lance. Still is Lance, right? Love Lance. Favorite Backstreet Boy. I mean, I guess I'll say my husband's. He was the edgier one and with the soulful voice, but I'll give it to him. Okay.
All right, good answer. So far, I haven't played the 5th. All right. Last one. Working.
Not yet.
Yeah, not yet. It's the best for last. Working in the, being a makeup artist in the industry, also like, being married to the Backstreet Boy, being around other celebrities, like what is the worst celebrity experience you've ever had?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I've had one. I could take it all the way back though to, when I was probably like 16 years old. My dad works in the entertainment industry as well, so I was raised around it. My dad was doing a Nike commercial and it was with the Chicago Bulls, and I can't remember the other basketball team, but my brother is like huge Michael Jordan fan, Chicago Bulls fan. And at one point, like, when they were done filming and everyone was going to lunch, my brother really wanted an autograph and stuff. And the people around Michael Jordan said no autographs or whatever. And he was pretty disappointed in that. So I guess I would say that, but it wasn't really Michael Jordan himself, but it was his team. That's one thing that comes to mind. Other than that, I mean, all of my experiences have been pretty pleasant.
Nice. She didn't play the 5th, everyone. Congratulations. You did it. Awesome. Well, I'm going to kick things off to Lori, who wants to start with some questions about your background and like your career in cosmetology. So Lori, without further ado, go and kick it off.
I am so excited for this episode because I feel like out of all of the Backstreet Wives, you are the one that I probably know the least about, but I feel like I would relate to you the most from what I do know about you. So like background with your family, background with like the beauty industry, like your love for makeup, and obviously your love for the Backstreet Boys. So I'm really excited. So thank you so much for doing this.
Of course. Thank you so much.
So I want to know a little bit more about you, like your background. So where are you originally from? How did you like migrate over to like the LA scene?
Okay, so originally I was born in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm one of 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. And in, I think it was 1989, we moved to California. Like I said, my dad works in the entertainment industry as well. So he, behind the camera, behind the scenes. And so yeah, we moved to California in 1989. I grew up in a suburb outside of California, which is really funny and random, is where Kevin and Kristen live now. So I lived there for, I don't know, 20 some odd years. And Kevin and Kristen live there now. And yeah, I grew up around the entertainment industry. Like I said, we'd go visit my dad at work all the time. And, as I got older, like I wanted to be in entertainment, and it didn't really matter like what part of it. Like I always had interest in being behind the camera, but also in front of the camera. So, but it was a little too shy to be in front of the camera. Like we all auditioned for like an agent when we were kids, and like my brother and sister got picked up, but I didn't because I was too shy. It's fine, whatever. So yeah, and then I kind of started dancing when I was in my like mid-teens, and I really fell in love with hip hop. So I did a lot of like dance classes. Then I started kind of driving out to Hollywood and taking dance classes in Hollywood, where I took from like Wade Robson, or now like Marty Kudelka, who ended up choreographing, he choreographs for Justin, but he also did the NKOTBSB tour for the boys, like they choreographed for the boys on that part and stuff. So tried to be a hip hop dancer for a hot second. And that didn't really go anywhere. It didn't go anywhere. And I'm very much like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot for a little bit. And then if it doesn't work within like a couple of years, I'm going to move on to something else. And originally I'd wanted to go to hair and makeup school right out of high school, but my dad was very much like, college, you need your education, and really wanted 4-year university. Didn't said that, if I went to college, then we could visit makeup school after. And I was a pretty terrible student in college, like just wasn't into it.
It wasn't always for you.
It definitely wasn't for me. I'm an artist, so like when I was in high school, it was like, well, I don't need this because I'm going to art school or makeup school. Like I very much was not into the academics as much.
Yeah.
So did terrible in college. It was a community college for like a year and a half. Did pretty terrible. But I was dancing and trying to explore other things at the time. And then dropped out of college and waited tables for a bit. And then that's when I put myself through makeup school. And then that's kind of how makeup came about, because dance really, like, by the time I was like 23 and people around me were, working dancers and booking jobs and all that kind of stuff, and I wasn't. I was like, okay, I need to figure something else out that's still artistic, still in the industry. I did a few jobs that were like nothing to call home about. So, but anyways, I was always more comfortable behind the camera anyway. So that's why makeup kind of came in, and it was a good fit for me.
Yeah, and I can relate to that because I actually moved out to LA in 2012 and lived there for 5 years because I wanted to pursue makeup in LA. But when you're young, I was like not even 30 yet. I was like, okay, I can go out there. It should be pretty easy. Definitely not.
It's not easy.
Definitely not easy. So then I ended up moving back home, but yeah, I moved out to LA for that same reason, was to like pursue the entertainment industry, and it just didn't work out for me.
I mean, it's hard. Like I would, bartend all night and then have to be on set for like a Heineken commercial at 5 a.m. Hair and makeup's always first one in, last one out. So like, wouldn't sleep. I'd kind of take like, I call it vampire nap, so that I could like go to work with the same makeup from the night before and work that all day. And I ended up, wanting to join the makeup union, obviously, as that's good, and the benefits and all that kind of stuff. And the makeup union was taking a very limited number of people at the time. And so that's why I went to Paul Mitchell. I went to hair school a little bit later in life so that I could join the union under the hair part of the union, because hair and makeup are actually different in the union.
Right.
So but you have to have your license to join, the hair union. So I went to cosmetology school late. So I did makeup when I was like 24. And makeup school was pretty short. Like I took I think it was like 10-week course of like makeup and then effects makeup. And I did the whole gamut of all of it. I know how to do like prosthetics and all of those kind of things, from molding to application and appliances and all that kind of stuff. That's why I did that makeup for this movie, like years later. Like, I can't remember what it was called.
Was it Dead Seven?
No, it was the pendant. It was like,
the pendant, yes.
Yes. I had just met Nick at recording studio one day, and he's like, oh, you do makeup? I'm going to do this movie. So I know how to do all of that, but then makeup was hard. So then I went to cosmetology school when I was like 27. So that's kind of it.
Was there anybody's makeup that you did that you were like, I can't believe I'm putting makeup on this person? Or anyone that you like styled their hair? Anybody you worked with that made you a little starstruck?
I don't think so. Nothing. I mean, I didn't get to do anybody like Lady Gaga or anything super amazing. So I don't think so. I did a lot of just photo shoots for, friends or whatever. I did some work on like the promos for like American Idol. I did like a Heineken commercial, a Best Buy commercial, and some music videos. I just took whatever job I could get. I never really got that like celebrity clientele, so
yeah.
No, I don't think so.
So what would you say would be your best beauty secret?
I don't know. I think my cat eye is pretty good. I mean,
your cat eye is bomb.
Thank you. I think my cat eye is pretty good, but I'm pretty terrible. Like I don't keep up with the trends. I'm awful. I don't wash my face before bed. Like all the wrong things. Like I know I do all the bad things. So, I mean, I wash my face with like my bar of soap when I'm in the shower. So it's not, I don't think I have good beauty secrets. I know it's terrible.
You're killing me right now.
I know it's terrible. I actually just bought like a bunch of like a whole skincare regimen. And I haven't even done it yet because I'm terrible.
Just sitting on the counter.
It is like I'm kind of getting at that age where I really need to start taking care of my skin, but I don't really have one.
Rochelle, I actually love the dark lipstick that you have going on right now. What kind is that? Because I don't want to sound creepy saying I'm just staring at your lips, but I'm really loving the color that you got on.
Thank you. I haven't done my lips in like over a year, right? So this was like a perfect opportunity to put lips on. It's a lip pencil. It's a MAC lip pencil, and it's called Half Red. And I just line my lips and then color it in.
Nice.
I find that like, okay, that's, I guess, a beauty trick of mine is that all of my lips is never lipstick. It's just a pencil. And
Really?
it stays on significantly longer for me. Yeah, I just use pencils and color in my lips.
I'm going to write that one down because I have an array of lip liners and I only use them. I mean, I'll fill in a little bit, but I always usually put something else on top. But I'm going to use that from now on. So I have a question from a fan, Rosa Jessica on Twitter. She said that she heard that you were a dancer like AJ. You did mention you started dancing at about 15. So is hip hop your only dance background, or was it just like your passion?
So hip hop was my passion, but I was kind of like, it just was like a love. I just fell in love with dance and I took whatever dance class I could take. So I did do jazz and ballet. I've never tapped. I didn't do ballroom or anything like that, but it was just basically like jazz, hip hop, ballet. And it was just, I threw myself in whatever class I could find. So even if it was like a level 4 jazz, which is pretty high, I knew that the teacher at the time was like a great teacher. So I just went in there and stood in the back, but really just to push myself because I felt like I had a lot, I had to catch up a lot. I did have gymnastics background, did gymnastics recreationally as a kid. So like I was a pretty strong tumbler. I could do, backflips and front flips and aerials and all that kind of stuff. But I was never good at something like the uneven bars. Kind of too tall for that. But yeah, hip hop was definitely my jam. Yeah.
Do you still take time out to dance now, or is it, kind of on the back burner? You've got mom life, your kids are now dancing and in competitions. Do you ever find the time to do it yourself?
I don't. I want to. I'm still so self-conscious, such a self-conscious person with pretty low self-esteem, which is terrible. But like, I don't know. I just feel me and AJ took a hip hop class together once, like when we were newly dating. I was like, let's go to dance class. And so we did. But no, I would love to. So Brooke, she's one of the dancers from the Vegas residency. She comes over like on Saturdays sometimes and does like a little class with Ava. And then I thought it would be fun to join them one week, maybe, just like get in on it. I haven't talked to Ava or Brooke about it, but I don't know. I think about it.
Just show up.
Yeah, right. Okay, guys, I'm here. I think an adult class would be fun, and it's a good, good confidence booster, and it's good exercise.
Yeah, for sure.
You should.
It's available. You might as well.
I know.
You don't even need to leave your house.
I know. That's true. That's
the best
true.
part.
We do have a lot of like dance parties, me and the girls. Like we dance around a lot and, have fun. But
keep the body moving.
Yeah.
So I have another question from another fan. This is from Audrey on Facebook. And she wants to know if you've ever considered starting a YouTube channel to teach makeup, and how amazing it would be to actually learn from you.
Oh, that's so kind of her. Thank you. No, I don't like talking on camera, and I just don't feel comfortable. Also the beauty industry and stuff is like so saturated. So I kind of feel like probably get lost in the mix. If you haven't, it's like Candy Johnson's been doing, YouTube makeup videos before YouTube was like even, popular like it is now. So it's like, or you've got Jeffree Star. There's so many people, or just kind of feel like I get lost in the shuffle. And I'm not comfortable being on camera. So now anymore, right? Like I wouldn't, I don't know, I would feel so silly. Like I noticed, I don't even post stories or anything like, hey guys, it's just not, I just don't have that in me. So no. And I
It's
did
not your
watch
thing.
this. No, it's not. And I did watch this thing about like the people that do make YouTube videos. And I mean, gosh, those people put so much time into those videos and with the editing and all that. I mean, those people are committed. I mean, that's a full-time job for all of those people. So, but no.
Absolutely. And then I have another question from Jennifer Carey on Facebook. She wants to know what made you and AJ decide to do a nail polish brand, and if you're planning on making bigger bottles.
Oh, bigger bottles? That's not a question for me, the bigger bottle question. Because they're deceiving because the cap covers like, you know, half of the nail polish bottle.
Most of it, yeah.
So it was kind of like, obviously we all go get our nails done like as family all the time. Not lately, but I don't know. It was just kind of something that felt right. And it was really more of like the brainchild on tour between like AJ and Josh, really. And then we kind of like, I mean, this started like years ago. So, you know, when I would maybe go visit in Vegas or something, like Josh would have all these boxes and we'd go through all the different polishes and the colors and the brushes. And like, this is something that they've both been working at for a long time, but it just fits, you know, he just fits for us and him, and he loves polish. And Josh has been really incredible, like making like connections with people and, you know, steering the ship as far as like all of that's concerned. So it is something that kind of like worked out. It wasn't really like, I don't know. It just wasn't something that was like always a thing. It just kind of happened. So.
Do you think you'll expand on in the beauty portion of that, like go outside of nail polish, or do you think it's just going to stick to nail polish?
I think we'll expand. Like we've talked about, like, so as far as like, especially because it's kind of like do what you know, right? And so AJ wears concealer and skin makeup every day. He, you know, he'll color in his beard with whether it be like mascara, eyeshadow, or whatever the case may be, or some sort of, you know, to cover grays and stuff. So I think like kind of a men's beauty, or at least start with like skin makeup. With skin makeup is something that like he really knows, like he knows his colors and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So maybe.
I can totally see AJ being the one to go into MAC and be like, I need an NC35. Yes. And like knowing exactly what he needs.
He totally is. He knows his color. He knows the brush. He knows all the kind of things that he likes. But
I can see that. I can see that, definitely.
What are you guys talking about?
Oh,
we're talking about you now.
Hi, everybody.
Hello, AJ.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi.
We were talking
I
about
heard
what
my
makeup's
name.
like.
How
AJ,
are you
I have a
guys?
question for you. Do you give Ro any tips on makeup now that you're dipping into the makeup?
Hell no. She needs nothing from me, believe me. No, she has definitely taught me everything shy of the cat eye. I don't know, but the cat eye might actually start happening for me once my solo stuff comes out. So
yes,
or the actual.
I'm here for it.
So.
I'm wearing the Ro right now. I'm wearing AJ and Ro.
Nice.
See? Yeah, I had to come prepared.
Nice.
You don't come into a Rochelle
Beautiful.
Ro red. I'm sorry. It doesn't happen. Can I tell you something?
Good to see all of you.
Yes. AJ, can I tell you something really?
I'll let you guys go. Oh, yes.
Yes. I just want to tell you personally, my child has recently come out as transgender, and your music video made me cry. Like, I'm trying not to cry right now, because it's just like, it means so much that you're connecting to the trans community. And I mean, it's just like my heart is like, I try not to cry. I'm so sorry. I'm going to be a cheese ball right now, but my child just came out like less than 6 weeks ago being trans, and their dad has not been accepting of that, which has been really difficult. So to just see you out there doing this, like it just touches my heart like no one's business. And thank you so much. It's a beautiful video. It's a beautiful song. And your advocacy, like we all see it and we appreciate it. You have no idea.
Well,
Absolutely.
thank you. Thank you, first of all. Second of all, this is just the beginning. I am not going to stop until I make a huge impact, and then I'll even continue after that. Last thing I'll say is on my podcast, we had this amazing dad on. He goes by the name of Viking Tower. His child came out as trans, and probably the best advice, I think he had the best advice, which was, as parents, all we have to do is just be loving and accepting. That is it. We don't have to understand. It's not our place to understand. It's not our body. It's not our mind, and it's not our soul. And everyone has a free choice and a free way of living and being. No matter your gender, no matter your color of your skin. This household is a colorblind, gender blind household, and it will remain that way even after I'm dead and gone, which will be in the year 3045, because I'm going to freeze myself. Yeah. I love you all. Medina, Melly, I love you guys. I hope you had a great birthday. You don't look a day over 25. Good to see you guys.
I did. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for letting him come on.
You
Of course.
I love.
I'm gonna come say hi, and I'm like, of course you are.
I love the we don't stand for toxic masculinity here, and I
No.
love that is. I swear, like every time he posts like himself in like your clothes, or he's wearing makeup, or he's doing stuff that is considered too feminine. I am all here for that, because I feel like in the world that we live in now, that's something that we need to work on. Like, what's the deal?
Yeah, I mean, well, and it's funny because that's just who he's always been, right? Like if you look
Right.
at his past wardrobe choices and stuff, they're always eccentric and a sheer top or whatever, and the nail polish and the eyeliner and all that kind of stuff. And he's not the first one to do it. You have got it's just musicians concerned. You have Prince or David Bowie or Elton John or whoever, and it's just there's really, why does it clothes have no gender? It's kind of silly.
Right.
I don't know, but he's wonderful, and that's just who his heart is. I remember when we first started dating, and I was like, oh wait, before we go on, how do you feel about gay marriage? Because our friends Mark and Tom, right? And it was a big thing in California at the time, where Proposition 8 was on the ballot and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, oh, I'm all for it. And I was like, okay, good, because if you're not, we'd have to have words. So
No problem.
but, I mean, he's always going to use his platform for good. So I love that about him. And he's been sitting on that music video for a long time, months and months. So he was really excited to get out there. And yeah.
I wanted to say real quick, one of the things that I think I like the most personally getting to know AJ is that everything he does stand for and how open he is. For me, being African American, right, a little different sometimes, skin colors, we're facing all kinds of stuff in the world, and then being overweight. But with him, as a fan, I never felt, we're women, right? So every once in a while, it's kind of like, oh, I'm not pretty enough. Oh, I'm not good enough. They're not going to see me. I never felt invisible. And sometimes being African American and overweight, you feel invisible. But he's never, ever made me feel invisible. And that is one of the things that I absolutely adore about him. So, of course, but that's him. That's, who he is.
That's him. And he really doesn't see that, it's like with me, like I'm overweight, and it's like he just doesn't see that. And I've never, ever heard him gossip about anyone or say a bad thing about anyone, and just comments on people's appearance. Like, it's not how he's going to identify someone, like, you know, and he just doesn't see that stuff. And that's something that's really beautiful about him.
Can I just say really quickly, I just have to say this, is that you are not overweight. I just want to like make that clear right now. Like, I was actually, as you came on the camera, I was like, oh my God, like, let's just have like a little like glow going on here. I don't know what that pandemic glow is, but it's looking very nice. No, for real. So like,
No,
I
so
know the LA thing, but you do not look overweight at all, just so you know.
I really appreciate that. I mean, I am, you know, the scale, the scale is a funny thing, because the scale, you know, everyone's like, it's not the number, but kind of at the same time, I personally feel it is the number, because that is a reflection of what I'm putting in my body and how I'm treating my body. And I personally have gone through the gamut of eating disorders, from the full spectrum of maybe forcing myself to throw up, exercising really hard after a meal, skipping meals for days, like, to the polar opposite end of binge eating kids' foods. And I actually, I joined Overeaters Anonymous in January. And it's, you know, it's a 12-step program, just like Alcoholics Anonymous, right? So we use the same literature and that kind of stuff. We just replace the word alcohol with food, right? And so it was kind of interesting. I celebrated the new administration with cake. And, you know, so me and Ada, we made this cake and we put blue sprinkles on it for Democrat. And it was like a big thing, right? And so that night we all had cake. And then the next day I had cut myself like a little inch of the cake. And then a little bit later, another inch and another inch. And by the end of the day, I had eaten a significant amount of the cake. And I left it because it was like, okay, I'm going to have this tomorrow. Woke up tomorrow, the following day, right? And I get really terrible migraines, like bedridden, vomiting, aura, can't see, all the symptoms of migraines. And a lot of times they're triggered by chocolate or sugar. Obviously, they're hormonal and environmental as well, but for sure, chocolate and sugar triggers migraines for me. And I woke up sicker than a dog because all I had eaten the day was chocolate cake. And I threw up and I was sick. And then I went to throw the cake in the garbage and I ate more of the cake. Like, it was like, well, fuck it. I'm sick. I'm just going to finish the cake because I already feel sick. So I'm not going to be affected in any way. So let's just eat the cake. And I did. And it was that afternoon that, so he does a meeting every day, an AA meeting, Zoom meeting every day. And I told him, I said, I really think I need to go to Overeaters Anonymous. And so he shared about it with his group. And by that afternoon, I had all these phone numbers of people to reach out to and people in program. And I did right away. And it's hard, it's hard doing all the work. And they call it your alcoholic food. So those are the things that you abstain from. And food's a hard thing because a lot of you have to eat every day to survive. So, I'm trying to fuel my body instead of, really at the end of the day, like punishing my body, or justifying some of the food I eat because I feel like I deserve it, or eating dessert or something because I'm upset about something I have zero control about. I have zero control about the insurrection at the Capitol. So let's go eat something, it's like, and you justify like all your eating and stuff. And I really took the time to, go through the way that I've been, at such a young age, I was either binging or starving myself from a kid. So I started throwing my lunch away at school when I was first grade, and I just wouldn't eat in front of people because I was embarrassed to eat in front of people. And, you know, so many terrible things have been so terrible to myself over the years. And it's really hard because I feel that, you know, there is so many societal pressures of magazines or people or whatever. And you think you have to look a certain way. And I'm just trying to be the best that I can be for myself and learn to love a body I've hated my whole life. And that's really hard. It's like, I've always hated my thighs are bigger than most people's thighs or whatever the case may be. So I'm just trying to learn to love myself and be healthy and healthy for my kids, and, you know, to set a good example of that, like, especially with little girls, right? Little girls who are going to probably end up with so many of the same struggles that I have or any of us have. And it's just, so it's been really good for me. It's helped me lose some weight, which is just a benefit of the program. But I've also, you know, it's been 3 months of no sugar, no soda, no fast food, no white flour. Those are all my real triggers, right? I haven't eaten anything off my kids' plates. That's huge for me, because it's like, okay, I'm going to clean the kitchen, but as I'm walking to the garbage, I'm, you know, eating what they didn't finish or whatever. So I've had a lot of success with it, and I'm really grateful for it. So
congratulations. And I like you said that, and I do the same thing with my kids. I have 2 little kids, and like whatever they don't finish, I will like eat off their plate. I like totally do that. And it's so funny that you're mentioning too, because I was just having a conversation with my niece. She's 14. Oh my God, she's getting old, and I'm like, it's freaking me out. But she's like going to be 15, and she's a model. She gets it, and she's so like naturally beautiful, very outgoing, has a big heart. And we were talking at the table about how she feels like she's so ugly. She's like, my nose, she has this app that she uses that makes her nose smaller. And I tell her how much it drives me crazy. I'm like, please stop using that app. I hate it. But she's like, but my nose is so big and my thighs are so this. And I was like, stop, like, you're so naturally beautiful. Like, and it's, I feel like it's an epidemic for women out there. Like, it's crazy how many of us are so obsessed with how we don't like feel like we're not enough.
yeah, absolutely. I actually had a conversation with Ava the other day because one of her friends like got real close to her face and was like, but you have a big nose. And I immediately jumped in because I was like, no, you don't say that. Like, we don't comment on people's appearances and stuff. And then later on, and I kind of talked about it, and I was like, no, that's, you know, that's hard for me to see a friend say something like that too, because A, you've already mentioned that you don't like your nose, and B, something I grew up with, right? Like, forever people said I had a big nose. And I'm Greek, so I have a very Greek nose. I said, but Ava, to the point where I had surgery, and I, you know, I changed my nose for other people because I let other people dictate and affect how I felt about myself. And, you know, we talked about like plastic surgery and why it was invented in the first place to help with, like, you know, reconstruction of people if maybe they've had an accident or something, but now how we use it to, you know, change our bodies and stuff. And I'm like, and that's not something I want for you. I want you to learn to love yourself as you are. You know, and it was really hard conversation to have, but I think it was important. Like, in when I was so emotional crying, like, no, you don't understand, Ava. Like, but no, it's so important. And Ava doesn't have like social medias right now, right? So, or any apps or any of those things. So she doesn't know like that she can filter her face and stuff. So I dread the day that comes though, because that's so sad for your niece. You know, it's like, it's terrible.
So, Rochelle, we're going to touch on this a little bit later with mine, but since you just brought up self-image, and it's such a big thing, especially amongst women. How do you keep your little girls so grounded? What do you do to do that? I know Lyric, I believe, had said something to Renee. He had posted it, and he or she had told him that I can do anything. And I think he responded to her, yeah, you can. And then she's like, do you want to know how? And he's like, well, sure. And she said, my mommy told me. So first of all, you're doing a good job with your girls, because they seem super confident at such a young age. How do you build their confidence? What do you do? What are some things you guys do? What do you say?
God, I don't know. So that came from, so during the election cycle, a lot of stuff came out during the election cycle. There, that Taylor Swift song came out, and it was an ad for, I think, Kamala Harris, I think, right? And it was to the song, oh my gosh, what's the name of the song? Wait, let me, so, because I want to quote it correctly. So let me look at my iTunes real quickly.
How do I
Okay.
not know a Taylor Swift song right now? Seriously.
Right. It was, wait.
Oh, Medina. Oh, I couldn't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was saying Taylor is really strong as far as girl power and confidence.
Yeah.
And
Right. So, yeah. Oh my gosh.
Was it the man?
Oh, it was Only the Young.
Oh,
Only the Young. And, you know, it talks about how the young generation is going to change.
Yep.
Right. And so I had never heard the song before. I know it's at the end of her documentary, but I had never heard the song before. And we were listening to it. And I was just so touched by the lyrics. I just completely started crying. And like Ava and Lyric were both like, why are you so sad? Like, I don't get it. And I was like, well, she's talking about a lot of the tragedies that we've experienced in, you know, this last 20, 30 years or whatever, with the like shootings and all that kind of stuff. But what she's singing about is that only the young are going to change it. Only the young are going to be the ones to change the world and to make this a better place. Like, unfortunately, you guys are going to be responsible for saving the environment, or, you know, and, you know, there was a lot of people who feel that people are less because of their skin color or who they love or whatever the case may be. And so this song is saying that the young people are going to be who saves humanity, right? And so that's kind of where that came from. And it was just like, you have the ability to be whoever you want to be and to change the world. And, you know, I just feel like, so for instance, like my mom went through some things when she was younger, right? So she had some eating disorder things and stuff like that as well. And you can't do better until you know better, right? So my mom with me didn't really know better, but she was suffering and going through her own stuff anyway. So I saw a lot of bad behaviors as far as like food is concerned or whatever. And it's just like, it's generational trauma, right? That comes from maybe how her mom talked to her, and that's generational and cultural, right? And so it's like, it is up to me to fix it all and change it so that my kids don't feel the way that I felt. And it's just important. I take every opportunity that I can to learn from, you know, something, or and I'm so far from perfect, but like, I just am trying so hard to teach them, you know, that I don't know, just that they have the power to be whoever that they want to be, you know. And I'm like, it's so huge to see, especially in America, like the other night, like, you know, Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi on the dais behind Joe Biden. Like, that's huge. We've never ever seen that. And I just want them to know that, you know, they can do whatever they want to do. And we support them regardless, whether it's be vice president or president or not, you know, and in anything and everything in between. So just trying to give them the tool that I didn't have, that I'm learning, right? Like, these tools are new to me too. So just trying to pass that along as early as I can.
I have to say kudos. My job, I'm a parent educator and I'm in early childhood education. So everything you're saying, I have to give you kudos for, because this is part of what I encourage parents to do, if they can, to really take a look at how they were raised, and challenge some of those thoughts, right? And then move forward with what makes sense for them. to kind of break the cycle, because like you said, it does become generational, right? And you can only do what you know. So once you know, now you have the power. So just a little pat on the back for you. Kudos.
Thank
Kudos.
you. Thank you.
Sorry, Lori.
You're fine. No, great conversation. I love that. We, in my family, we have a lot of, generational trauma that I am trying to break. I've chosen not to have kids, but I have lots of nieces and nephews from my best friends. And they've also chosen to break that generational trauma too in raising their babies. So it's great to hear that you guys are doing the same thing.
Thank you.
So I went into the whole background of your life, and now Melly is going to discuss your life with AJ.
Okay.
Hi,
Melly.
Hi. Of course, we picked the Howie girl to talk about AJ. I don't know how that worked out, but he's my second choice. He always has been. So we're going to start off with a topic that is close to me. You and I kind of talked about it as I was walking through it too. I just want to say how proud of you I am for sticking it out, for working it out, the issues that you and AJ have had. I come from experience having been I was with my ex-husband for 20 years, 13 of them we were married. I left only because there were other things than just the alcohol abuse. I am proud to say, though, that in the 6 years that we have not been together, he has not had a drink in those 6 years and has really, been working on himself. So I'm giving kudos to him and kudos to you for sticking it out, because I know it's not easy. So I guess my first question is, what made you stay? How did you know that in the end you'd be where you are now?
I didn't know that in the end I would be here now. And I'll just be brutally honest. We were real close to not making it a couple years ago. And it was terrible, but it's kind of easy to stick it out because a lot of the problems were out of sight, out of mind, right? So it's I drew a line in the sand a long time ago that you don't drink here, you don't do drugs here. If you don't come home. And he never did, right? He never brought that home. So it was kind of I don't have to deal with it a lot of the time. Obviously, he's in Vegas on the road or whatever and doesn't call till 5 p.m. I know what's up, or and literally he can call me and say, hey, and I'm like, oh, you've been drinking. I'll talk to you tomorrow. So, I'm very in tune to all the things that went on and happened. There's stuff I don't know, but there's a lot of stuff I do know, because you have that feeling, and I really am in tune to him and how he is and stuff. So, the only thing I can say was when he's home, he's a wonderful father. He's a wonderful husband. And so a lot of the good that we shared was really, really good. But then, like I said, all the bad stuff was not here. If he brought it home, if he had a 9 to 5 and brought that home every day, it would have been an entirely different story, because it's not something that I'm going to have my girls experience or be around. So I think that was something that kind of made it easier for me to just kind of well, he's gone. I don't have to worry about it. We can just go about our day and have our schedule and just live kind of a separate life, really, right? It's a separate life where it's it really is not affecting me. Obviously I know, and it does affect me emotionally and stuff, but isn't affecting me in the way of that, it would ruin our day or anything. I just kind of hang up the phone and move on with our day over here. And there's a lot of people, Melly, your case, for instance, maybe, it's better for you to go, right? So it's better for you to walk away from that and leave. And so I don't know. I mean, just like the good times were worth it enough for me, you know, and but like I said, we were real close to the end, like 2 summers ago. So I can't say that I wouldn't have left. But I mean, he kind of pulled it together just in time. So
yeah, I mean, kudos again to you guys for like setting that boundary, because that boundary I think needs to be set. In so much now that the girls didn't see that side really, right? Like when they're older and can search, you know, YouTube and things like that, and you know, like then they'll kind of hear those stories, but to not have them to kind of live it in the moment, I think is really important, because that I think could have been something that for me we wouldn't necessarily have to deal with what we're dealing with now, like the repercussions of having to live with that. So kudos for you for drawing that line in the sand and saying, nope, can't come home if that's what's going on, because I think that's super important.
yeah, and that started, I think Ava was like 6 months, and he didn't come home, and then he did come home, and I was like, okay, you have to go find somewhere else to be, because I'm not gonna leave, I'm not gonna uproot me and Ava because you can't keep it together. Like, you need to go check into rehab or find sober living or whatever the case may be and go do it, you know. And so he did. I mean, he went to sober living for a while. So but I mean, a lot of that comes with Al-Anon, right? Like Al-Anon is a program for people who have loved ones in AA and stuff. And so a lot of that came from there. This is where I learned like my boundaries and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a good segue. I don't even have to segue into these next questions, because that goes into it. Selva from Facebook she said that your strength and resilience is admirable. And what was the most important thing that helped you during that time with AJ? And then what has been the most important thing that's helped you during his recovery?
Okay, those are great questions. So yes, Al-Anon was a lifesaver for me. Like my first Al-Anon meeting was really hard. It was, 90 minutes of me just crying, like, can't believe I'm here. This can't be my life. But, and we did a lot of therapy together, like with people who specialize, addiction and drug abuse and that kind of stuff. So our therapist, that's his background, like couples therapy for addiction and that kind of stuff. And so in Al-Anon, they say detach with love, right? So that's the biggest thing, is that you have to just pull away, even though I love you, but I can't control you. I cause what's happening. So you just, I used to be like, okay, I'll go pick up your alcohol for you. You shouldn't be driving. And then I went to Al-Anon, and then it was like, oh no, you're enabling by doing that. So if you get in an accident when you leave, that's on you. And so it's real. I mean, it's the hardest thing to do, right? But just had to let go and let him figure it out for himself. And I guess that goes back to like how, like, if he's, was away and there was a problem there, it was just like, no, I have to let go of that, because I can't control it, So, and then as far as in his recovery, I was real bitter at first. It was like quarantine just started, and I was like homeschooling, like doing all this stuff. But he was like, I'm going to do my meeting every day. And this meeting happened like right at dinner time. And I was like, what is your deal? Like, and, but then it was like, I'm resenting him because I'm not making time for myself. Right. So it was like, I was getting mad because it's like, oh, you're going to make time for your meeting and you're going to work out because you're going to do Dancing with the Stars and all this stuff. And I was getting mad, but it was like, but wait, Rochelle, you're not prioritizing yourself. So then I started working out, and just doing little things like that, like obviously I have to make time for myself when everyone's like asleep. So it's like, my workouts are at 7 a.m. or whatever. But just little things like that. And that really helped me. Just because I had to make time for myself. I was neglecting myself. So I would say that would be what helped me.
Perfect. I think that's important to, for any of us, actually, just to set that time aside just for ourselves, so that we're not not getting overwhelmed with life, especially now, right? Because we kind of can't do those things or escape and do those things that, you know, gave us that time for ourselves. So we have to reinvent what that looks like. So I think that's super,
Absolutely.
super important. Let's see here. Taylor, I think it's our Taylor. Does it bother you that AJ has the label alcoholic and that people ask questions about it?
Yeah, because my husband used to be an alcoholic. So I was with my husband for 10 years. We divorced, and unfortunately he passed away related to substance abuse. But I think one of the things when he was sober was once he admitted he was an alcoholic, his family labeled that on him. And that was a label that were like, it's part of who he is, but it's not all that he is. So that was something that was frustrating for me. Like, is that something that like feels frustrating to you sometimes, or do you like get that frustration?
I totally get your frustration. Because you are, I mean, he's forever gonna be all of those mistakes, right? Like all of the craziness and all of that, like people aren't gonna forget that. But I don't think I deal with it too much. You know, I don't, because my family's been real respectful of his journey and stuff. So like this is a dry house. Like we haven't had even like a wine glass in this. Like when he first went to his first time in rehab when we were together, which was I think 2010, when he was gone, like I emptied the house of everything, even a shot glass, right? So it's like I got rid of all of it, and ever since then, any birthday, any party, anything is dry. It's a dry. This is like a safe haven, right? Like so, it's like we had a huge Christmas party, first one and our last one, right? It was 2019. We had a fun Christmas party and stuff, and it was like there was some moms from the kids' school, and no, I'm sorry, we don't. There's no alcohol in this house. This is a safe zone. So, and it ended up being like a really beautiful party, you know, and we had a blast. But so no, I just don't, you know, I don't want him to forever be all of his mistakes, you know, and it's hard because then it's like at some point the girls are going to know all those things, are able to read all those things. And yeah, I get what you're saying. I never really thought about it kind of in that way.
Yeah, I think it was more because like my husband's family was very easy to bring it up, or like, you know, people want to talk about it. And I think it was frustrating for him. I think it was part of why it was hard for him to be sober, because he felt like he had to live up to this expectation to stay sober. And everyone was watching his like every move, like, oh, is he going to drink? Is he going to do this? Is he going to do that? So I think it was a intense amount of pressure, and I contributed to that too. I don't want to like say I was perfect in that. So I think looking back, I can see, and even seeing like with AJ's, you know, sobriety, which is amazing. I commend you. I commend AJ for that. But I do, you know, being so personally involved in my own experience with that, I know how frustrating it is too, where it's like everybody is almost waiting for that shoe to drop. And that can be really stressful for him too. And for you.
I mean, yeah, I mean, he could leave right now, and right, and who knows? It is the hardest thing because there's nothing any of us can do about it, and you never know what's gonna take that person back to that place or whatever. And it is stressful, but the more time he gets under his belt and stuff, and the more I remove myself from his recovery, right? It's like what does it matter to me how many days he has? Like I stopped counting his days a long time ago because it was like, oh, I have this many days, but really he didn't, you know? And so it's like, you know, it's his journey. It's not mine. And I guess that's the best way that like that's how I cope with it, you know?
I think that's a good way. That's a good way to look at it, is that it's his journey and your piece of his journey, but it's definitely his journey. The same as my ex-husband now is his journey. And just with Taylor just talking kind of about like that shoe to fall, do you think, or do you feel that there are certain triggers for AJ that could cause that shoe to fall? And does that scare you?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, it is terrifying. Who knows what it's going to look like when he's back on the road, or if they ever go back to Vegas, all those kinds of things. So, I mean, I think that fear like will always live inside me. Obviously, right now it's so tiny, it's not something I'm worried about today, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, and I don't know. I mean, I don't know what his triggers are, but I think he's done so much work on himself this last year that a year and a half, whatever it's been, like, I really hope that he's at peace with all of those things that are his triggers, right? So it's like, kind of like me with the food, like I have to be at peace with what my triggers are and remove myself. Like, tomorrow we're taking the girls to Disneyland. Well, I'm taking the girls to Disneyland. It's our first day back. We're so excited. But I'm packing my lunch, right? I'm packing all my food and all my snacks for the day so I'm not triggered at Disneyland. Like, of course I want to trigger, but it's not worth it. So I just hope that he, takes his recovery with him everywhere he goes.
Perfect. I love that. And kudos to you. Kudos is my word today, my catchphrase, for taking yourself and joining Overeaters. You and I have talked about that part of my journey in my life as well too, and it is an ongoing one and continues to be an ongoing one. So good for you for getting yourself back into and realizing that it's your body and that you need to treat it a little bit better. So enough with like the hard, deep questions. We have some fun ones. So Rafaela, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry. I just wanted to check on time for everybody as well, because I know we are a little over an hour. So I'm fine with time, but I just want to make sure everybody's good with time. Okay, perfect. That's all. Continue. Sorry.
Rafaela asks, what has been your best date with AJ? And what has been your worst?
My worst would be one of our first dates where I really wasn't in tune to like his, what was happening to him at the time. And so we did drink together one night and then smoked one of his cigarettes for some odd reason. And I got sick, threw up, and it was like I was terribly ill. Terribly ill. So that for sure was worst. That was very early on though. It was like a couple months in, right? And my best, I don't know, nothing really stands out. I'll be completely honest, like we've had so many dates where like, okay, we're gonna do all these things and then we'll go out to dinner, obsessively talk over the kids, and then just end up coming back home. So I don't know. We really like being home. We really like spending all of our time with the girls. Our date nights are really simple. It's just like dinner and sometimes a movie. But a lot of times we don't make it to the movie. We're really simple. I mean, it's pretty simple over here. So
that's nice though to know that it's like simple and it's not like always has to be like extravagant, because I feel sometimes that people think those that are in the public eye that always their dates are like these big extravagant shows, or that it's not kind of just the simple thing sometimes. So that's, I mean, refreshing to hear that there's the simple life too. Jemmy asks, I always wondered what it would be like to be married to someone that goes on tour, or just to be married to a Backstreet Boy. How has that been for you? And was it what you expected?
I guess it's not, because kind of like what you just said, like our life outside of like tour and all this stuff is really low key. I mean, a lot of my stuff revolves around, the girls and making sure they're at dance or school, whatever the case may be. And I mean, he's pretty low key too. Like right now during quarantine, like his fun is going on a bike ride with Renee and my brother, or it's so mellow. But then you have the flip side of you know, going on tour and everybody knows you or is invested in you in some way. Or, I mean, the hardest thing for me would be like paparazzi, right? Like that's the hardest thing for me, whereas like, once again, for someone who's very like insecure and self-conscious, you know, just thinking you're going to dinner and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, there's paparazzi, you know, that's very unsettling. I don't like that, because that's something that's like so out of my control. Obviously I can post a picture from like here up and it looks great. But whereas like paparazzi is gonna post full body and that doesn't sit well with me. And, you know, so those kinds of things are hard. And I guess the other hard part would be, you know, like the online bullying, right? Like the meanies over there on Instagram and stuff. But I've kind of learned how to navigate that too, right? So like on Instagram now, especially being back on after 2 years, people that I know or follow are my top comments, right? You know, and then once I'm like, oh, I don't know that person, I don't read anymore because I don't need to see. And that sucks because then I don't get to see maybe what, you know, somebody might be saying or something, but it's a defense mechanism, you know, it's a way to protect myself, but still enjoy something like social media.
Rochelle, you tell us who those bullies are and we'll stop it. We got you. We won't let it happen.
I did get on there once.
It's ugly.
I got in there once. I don't even remember, but AJ brought it back up. And he's like, you shut them down. I was like, okay, good. I got you.
But you know, like, and I so appreciate that, but it just makes us be people that we don't want to be too, right? Like who wants to be fighting and bringing ourselves down to that level? So it's just like, let it be. They clearly have
to stick up for you. I had to do it.
Well, I appreciate it, but then, you know, I realize it's like, well, because it doesn't feel good. Like someone was mean to Lauren one time and I came to her defense and then it just got ugly. And I just felt like, oh, I was just trying to stick up for my friend. But then now I'm becoming this person who is not any better in that moment. And that never feels good. So, yeah.
I have one last one, and then we're going to throw it over to Medina. What is your biggest pet peeve when it comes to AJ?
I have quite a few, so I'll give you a few.
Sure. One is lots of examples, so please do.
Okay, so one is obviously the shoes, right? And then this kind of stuff, like all the weird, like knick-knack decoration stuff. So this is his like office, so he can put all the weird like SpongeBob, I don't know, like that kind of stuff. I just am like, what is it? Another big one is like in our kitchen, like after the fire and everything, right before the fire, our kitchen flooded, so we were gonna have to pull out the kitchen island anyway and redo it. And then because of the fire and all the remodeling and everything we had to do, we took out the island and there's no kitchen table area. It's just like this big island now where we can sit and have our food and stuff. And he always puts his beanies and his hats on there and his keys and his cigarettes. And then it's like, that's like it's a counter, but that's our kitchen table. Like, stop putting your stuff on here. And then I love when he puts his clothes on top of the hamper instead of inside the hamper. That drives me nuts. What else? I don't know.
The clothes on top of a hamper is such a man thing. Like now that it's just myself and Madison, it doesn't happen. I mean, it might happen the odd time, but it doesn't happen very often. But that's sorry to all the men that are listening, but that's such a man thing to do.
It's like everywhere but the hamper, like outside of the hamper, on the floor next to the hamper, on top of the washing machine, like.
My kid does that. My kid does that and it drives me crazy. Like, just shove it in. Just shove it in the hamper.
Right. Well, and now like Ava does it too. And then, you know, he'll be like, you guys have to pick up all your toys and like put, take your stuff to your room. And why is everyone's shoes on the floor? And it's like, because you're not leading by example. If your shoes are on the floor, they're going to leave their shoes on the floor. If your stuff is all over the counter, they're, even now, like when she comes in from dance, she just kind of puts all of her stuff on top of the same, with this piece of furniture where we meet it, like the top drawer is like keys and chargers and stuff. And then the next one down is sunglasses. And then the one on the right is the mask drawer now, right? Like everyone knows, like that's what it's our drop zone, but it's like nobody's putting things in the drawers, just all piling like on top. And it's like, you guys, so that all those things, like putting your keys just on top instead of just opening the drawer and putting it in.
Those are fun pet peeves, but yeah, those are pet peeves for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering those deeper questions and fun questions. Medina's up next, and she's going to talk to you about raising daughters and parenting during the pandemic.
Oh, good stuff. Okay.
So we all know that you are mom to the beautiful Ava and Lyric, who seem like they're such happy and well-adjusted little girls. And I like the way that you and AJ parent, because you just seem very calm. You seem very real. You seem very attentive, which are all the things, again, kind of what I try to help encourage the families I work with, to be and to do. So again, kudos to that. And I can really appreciate that. And then I'm going to fangirl really quick for a minute. Absolutely adore you. I think you're absolutely beautiful. I adore your husband. I think he's beautiful. You both will forever be my crushes. I keep saying, okay, Medina, you're 25 now. Stop crushing on AJ. And then he does something like this song, love song, love. And I'm like, oh. So, but you guys are awesome. You're awesome. Your hearts are awesome. And that comes across with your children. So, parenting styles. Do you guys have similar parenting styles? Are they opposite of each other, or do you pretty much align?
First of all, thank you for all the kind words. You're so sweet. And next, we're pretty much on the same page for most things. And it's so funny because originally I thought that like I was going to be the disciplinarian and that he was going to be the like free for all kind of thing. And it ended up being, I'm more of the pushover, right? Like, so, which I had no idea that was going to be, because he'll put them to bed. He does bedtime every night, right? So he'll put them to bed, and then all of a sudden they'll come down and be like, Dad, can I have a snack? And he's like, no snacks. And then I'm like, go get some cheese. Like, go get a string cheese, and then, go to bed. And you know what? You always like go back against what I say. I'm like, but they're hungry. Like Lyric didn't eat enough at dinner. Like, come on. But for the most part, especially the big stuff, we're on the same page. Yeah.
It's always a good thing. I find with the parents, again, working with, I know dads and moms parent different, right? Because we're just wired different. Men and women are just wired different. So that's a great thing that you guys are on the same page and similar pages. And we have our first question for you. And this is from, and I apologize if I pronounce your name wrong, but I think it's GU from Twitter. And she says that, I know that Rochelle is a feminist and a proud mom, and I want to know how the feminism influences her to raise her girls.
Oh, yes. And the feminism thing kind of, it wasn't until recently where I realized when I say recently, in like the past 10 years, like women are still treated not as an equal, and that's just wild to me. But yeah, just for me with them, like basically it's like whatever they want to do, they can do. Like Ava a few years ago asked, I don't know if she can hear me, asked Santa Claus for a skateboard. So Santa brought her a skateboard, right? And I don't know where that desire came from or whatever, but it was just like, let her skate, right? Like if she wants to skateboard, she can skate. And just like she's, you know, during quarantine, like they've been kind of into like, we go to the park, they like to play basketball and stuff. And there's just really like no, oh, that's not for girls or whatever, right? And then my brother, who's around a lot, like he likes to teach him how to like weight lift, obviously with, you know, 2-pound dumbbells or whatever, but like, I don't know. We just, I just don't ever want them to think there's nothing that they can do because they're a girl, you know? It just, so yeah.
Yeah. I'm all about girl power, right? Because just being a woman, I'm a supervisor, and I work in a predominantly female organization, right? So being assertive comes a little easier when you're not, for me, when you're not kind of like in mixed company. But I find that even though I work with a lot of other women, not everybody feels that empowerment, right? And they just don't feel like either it's a self-esteem or because women haven't had a strong say just in society over the years, we don't always, and we aren't always able to speak up. So for me, actually, over the last couple of years, it's been huge for me to actually be okay with speaking up and not worrying necessarily about the feelings of someone I'm speaking up for. Not that I don't care about their feelings, right? Because it's a mutual thing and you want to be respectful, but I wouldn't say anything. I would always be like, okay, right? And I'm like, oh, wow, I wouldn't express my opinion. But I find it to be really empowering. So really letting little girls know that you can do anything, right? And there are no limits. And then the gender boundaries.
Yeah, my OA sponsor said something to me the other day because she's actually working on her codependent stuff as well. And she said something to me about speaking her feelings one day and just telling someone that she wasn't willing to answer the questions that were being asked of her because she said, why am I valuing their comfortability over mine? Which was like so eye-opening for me, whereas like we spend all this time like trying to keep everybody else happy at our own expense, you know? And so I just tell Ava and Lyric all the time, like, you know, it's okay to tell your friends, even if it makes, you know, even if it causes like a little issue, it's okay to tell your friend like, hey, I didn't like it when you did that, or hey, I'm not going to do that, or you know, you really hurt my feelings when, and because like right now Lyric will just like throw herself on the floor and scream and nobody even knows like what's up, but it's like, Lyric, you need to tell people what this is so that we can help you. Instead of throwing yourself on the floor, why don't you come and say, hey, Ava's not helping me with my iPad or whatever. If I mean, because with her it's like 0 to 60, but it's like you can tell us how you're feeling. And I just feel that like if they can tell me how they're feeling, then it'll be easier to tell other people, right? So like probably unpopular parenting choice on my part, but it's like they listen to a lot of music that's probably not age appropriate. And they sing all the lyrics except for the one bad one that they're really not allowed to say. But it's like, we had a conversation about that word, the N word, and where it comes from and why we don't say it and why they say it in music, but we shouldn't sing it. But anyway, long story short, so they'll drop F-bombs or whatever the case may be. But I just kind of felt like if I create this space where they're comfortable like listening to some music and saying these words and they know they're not going to get in trouble with me, then maybe they'll trust me with other big things, right? But I'm also very realistic in the sense that, Ava, you can't use those words, you know, around your friends because maybe other parents don't feel the same way, right? Like, yeah, you're not going to get in trouble if you say a bad word with us, but somebody else's parent is not going to like that. Or, and back when she was in, you know, regular school, it'd say, you'll be sent to the principal's office if you drop an F-bomb in class. So like, but my hope is that by creating such a safe environment here, being able to say or sing or whatever you want, like that she's going to tell me the big stuff, right? Like I was so close with my mom, and I shared everything with her, right? Like, hey mom, I'm at this party and people are drinking, like, can you come pick me up? I don't feel comfortable. Or, hey mom, I lost my virginity last night. Like, and anything and everything in between, like, because my mom created that space for me. So just hope to create the same space for them. Hi kiddo, thanks. Some friends, you want to come say hi? No? Okay. All right, let me finish, okay? Okay, bye. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so yeah.
Yeah, I think that's important too. I know growing up, my mom did the same thing. Anything, there was nothing off topic. You can ask her anything, you can say anything. And again, what I'm hearing you do, you still have your boundaries for your family, right? Because every family is still different. You have your own family culture. So there were boundaries, there are things we could do, there are things we could say, and then there's expectations too. Like you said, okay, at home, we do this. When you're out there, someone else, family may be different. So it's not okay, but it's okay here. But I think, and I'm pretty sure because she was so open, I was really able to finally transition into being as open as I am, which I always think, again, is empowering for us women, because it is okay for us to express ourselves.
It is. And the more we do it, the more we're going to do it, right? And the better we're going to feel, and the easier it's going to be. And because realistically, like we've all probably gone out with someone we didn't want to go out with, or done, I mean, how many things have I done that I really didn't want to do? And it's like, I wish that I was secure enough to say, hey, I'm not doing this, or I'm not comfortable here, or no, I don't, I don't know. So I hope that they take that away from all of that.
I think that's a good topic, because like I have two girls, one who now is transgender, identifies as he, but I have a younger son who's 4. And like the big thing is like consent, right? And it's like you have to have 2 separate conversations about consent. One with the boys, understand consent, and then with the girls talking about like enforcing consent. And it's a very like interesting frame of mind to be in, because like now, like as my older child, talking, sorry, we have pets and they just started squeaking, so I apologize. We got a little zoo going on here in the back. So like, but it's so interesting, because consent is a huge thing of like, you have to speak up, you have to, know when it's okay. And I don't want to share too much, but there's a situation where, my child was in a situation that was not consensual on the other person's part, and then having to lose some friends because of that. And then also like the backlash you get because of consent. So it's just crazy of all the dynamics when you raise kids, of like what you have to talk about. And it's just very stressful.
It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. And I can see how it would definitely be hard. Definitely. But kudos to all you moms out there holding it down and doing it. I give you props. I just teach a little parenting. I'm not a parent, unfortunately, but nonetheless, I just try to encourage. So, but that kind of takes us into our next question. This is Monica M. Bland from, I think, Twitter. And she asked again, what was your parenting style? And she says, we see the girls light up a room and feel empowered. AJ is always very vocal on his lifestyle. And what are you hoping your girls will take away as they grow up and understand how you've raised them?
Mm-hmm. I think my biggest thing for my girls is, just compassion and kindness, and, acceptance of something that's different or whatever. I mean, I feel like if I raise like 2 kind kids, then we've been successful. I don't want any meanies running around out there. So.
Right. No mean girls.
No mean girls.
No mean girls. So This is a little bit fun. I find it interesting. The next question. So this is from R. Taylor also. She has good questions. So she says, with AJ being home and the longest he's been in a while, have you found your parenting styles clash or there's ever a power struggle? I know you said you guys pretty much align, but is there ever a little bit of a power struggle as to, all right, I'm the parent of the day, you know, kind of deal?
I mean, to me, especially during COVID, right? Like my biggest thing has always been just keeping the girls comfortable and feeling safe, right? Because I just think if I was 8 years old and all of a sudden I couldn't see my friends and I couldn't go to school and I had to wear a mask and what the hell, people are dying, like what the fuck? But also too, seeing all this stuff at like on the news and the Capitol and the riots last year and all the, I mean, they saw so many things that were just, right? Like who would have ever dreamed that this is what's going to happen? So for me, it's been like keeping them comfortable, right? So bedtime got a little lax. They basically have slept in the same room since lockdown started last March and stuff. And then kind of turned into like giving them their iPad at night so they could watch something to fall asleep. And so there's a lot of things that definitely they're probably not the best, but what does an iPad at night hurt? Or I mean, they don't really need a strict bedtime because we're homeschool now. So all those kinds of things, right? So it was like just keeping them comfortable. And so there's nights when, you know, Alex is like, all right, okay, separate rooms tonight, iPad only for 30 minutes, and then I'm coming to take a nap. And I'm like, okay, Ava, just when you're done, go to Lyric's room. You can lay down with her. I was like, because then other than that, if I don't, they're both not sleeping well. They're coming into our room. Nobody's having a good night's sleep, right? And these habits that maybe aren't so great have lasted a little too long, so they're really hard to break. And I'm just giving them a little bit more leeway than he is. And so that's been our biggest. Nighttime's really hard for us in this house because he's very much like, no, go to your rooms, close the doors, and you're fine. Like, it's fine. Whereas like, you know, I came from a family of 4 and me and my sister always shared a room. And so I always had the comfort of somebody in my room with me and not feeling alone, right? And then some nights my brother would come into our room and sleep on a futon on the floor. And so it's like, I always had that, like, where like we weren't allowed to have sleepovers in my house. Like you couldn't spend the night anywhere and nobody would spend the night at our house. Like my parents were pretty strict about that kind of stuff. So my siblings were my like sleepovers, and right. So I think it's harmless. Or like, for instance, if either of the girls come into the room in the middle of the night, it's easier for me to just put them in the bed with me. And then he's like, no, you know, you have to stop that. I'm like, one night they're not going to come into our room anymore. And I don't know when that night's going to be, but all of a sudden one night it's going to be the last time. And so who's it hurting anybody, you know? So that's really where we have a hard time, is bedtime's rough here. But if that's the worst of everything, it's not a big deal.
I'm going to be 37 and my little sister, she is 22. And there's times where I'll like come out of the room like, hey, what are you doing? Do you want to come snuggle with me? It never ends. I'm like,
I mean, the thing is it does never end, right? Like my dad works out of town a lot and stuff, and I always end up in my mom's room with her. And, you know, it's like, and when he was on tour and all that kind of stuff, it's like, no, I want my girls with me. Like, just sleep in my bed. It's comforting. It's easier. Everyone sleeps better. It's like, there's no harm in that. So yeah, but he doesn't come from, right? He has no siblings. So he doesn't get that vibe there of like that kind of.
Yeah, I think like as a mom, I don't want to ever like prohibit affection or like that bonding. Like for me, it's like I want them to have as much love and attention and affection as possible. I mean, I selfishly want it too, but that's neither here nor there. But I mean, like you want to have like for that, I feel like that's like there's no deal breaker for that. You will get my unlimited like love and affection and attention. So
I mean, they lived in our body, right? So joining our bed is not that invasive. It's like, just come in.
They were inside of me for 9 months. Not that serious.
True. Very true, though. I love it. I love it. And I still have to chuckle because Alex as a disciplinarian is blowing my mind, to be honest. I'm just going to put that right there. That is probably the one tidbit you've given today that has me baffled. I'll just be honest with that one. But you mentioned just a little bit when you were saying that with everything going on over the last year, you name it, the world's been through it. Do you have conversations with the girls about it? Like, how much do they understand of the pandemic and of some of the injustices that have gone on, the impact of the election? Do you talk about some of that at home?
We talk a lot about that at home because, you know, Ava and I was watching MSNBC last summer when they were showing outside of the White House and the tear gas and all that stuff. And then that one camera guy was punched in the face. And then the guy walked through the street and took the pictures in front of it. Okay. So we were watching that live. And, you know, Ava was asking me, you know, what was happening. And I gave her a full-on history lesson of why Black Lives Matter and where that comes from and how it was started, and because of, and way back into slavery and early America, and, you know, and to be honest, how I didn't understand Black Lives Matter when it came out, right? Like, I was like, well, everybody's lives matter, of course, right? But then I was like, a friend explained it to me, and then it was just so, you know, because once again, like I said, you can't do better until you know better. And when it was explained to me in a different way, rather than just a hashtag on Twitter or something, then you're like, oh, wow, that's really eye-opening. And so they understand all of it. You know, I took Ava to the voting booth with me to vote for Hillary Clinton. So, you know, that was a real sad day in this house because I was just like, Ava, you're gonna get to see the first woman president, and that is just insane. That's something I could have never ever dreamed of. And I was pregnant with Lyric at the time, and I knew I was having a girl as well, right? And then you hoped for the best in that last administration. Like, none of us ever knew it could have, things would turn out the way that they did. And so yeah, I mean, they knew we voted for Joe Biden, and they even ask me sometimes, they're like, are they on our side, right? Like, are they team Biden or are they, and I mean, you know, I'm like, sometimes I'm honest with them, and other times, obviously, I'm like, I don't know, you know, who they support. And we've had conversations of what's Republican and what's Democrat, and why do people vote for different people. And we have all the conversations. And COVID was really hard for us because my brother has a lot of autoimmune issues, and he ended up not from COVID, but he ended up getting real sick last summer. Was in the hospital for a while and stuff, and it was hard because we couldn't visit him or see him, and he needs a procedure that the CDC won't allow until it's safe from COVID and all this kind of stuff. So it's like they knew from the very beginning that we don't know what this is, we don't know how it's going to affect anybody, but for, you know, the sake of my brother, everybody has to be safe, and we have to wear masks, and we have to do our part because we don't know, and we can't afford to get anybody else sick. So they knew very early on, and it was taken very seriously in this house. Literally, Alex and I just went on our first like date 2 weeks, not last Friday, but the Friday before, right? It was our first real date night, because I wouldn't eat in a restaurant until everyone was fully vaccinated, and even with that 2-week window at the end, right? So the biggest thing for us was obviously Alex doing Dancing with the Stars was a risk, but they were COVID tested every day, and you know, him and Cheryl weren't allowed to see anybody else. I mean, they Dancing with the Stars had it like down, and then you know, the girls still dance, but they dance outside masked, so it's like there was adjustments made at dance. So the only reason why we felt comfortable still doing that. And then yeah, this is the way that California was with the vaccine rollout, like we weren't eligible, so we went and waited for extra doses, and that's how we all ended up getting, you know, our shots when we did, was because it was like, well, let's just go wait. So we ended up waiting. So no, we're just, I mean, age appropriate, but brutally honest with all the things that are happening. And you know, I mean, even like Alex's video and transgender and all that kind of stuff, just honest. You know, they have any questions, we answer them as best we can.
For me, I think being honest and age appropriate, right, is good, because your experiences are what build you, right, to adulthood and even in adulthood. So me personally, I just think the more experiences you have, it makes you more tolerant and it makes you more understanding. So again, coming from my house, right, my mom and dad were so open about everything, and it was just allowed. So I think that's important, especially today. There's so many, we all live different, but different doesn't mean bad, right?
Right.
So learning that doesn't, those words aren't equal. Different and bad are not equal. You know, it's just different, and we can go without judgment. So that's a good thing, I think.
I think
all right.
so too.
You also mentioned this a little bit earlier, Instagram. So just recently, you have started an IG for little Miss Ava, who is quite the dancer. I don't know much about dancing, but from what I've seen, she has some really nice lines. She must get it honestly from both of you guys. So the question is from BSB fan Mike from Twitter, and he wants to know how you and AJ deal with stalkers and trolls who might visit her page.
That's a good question. The page is run by me. Ava has no, I mean, honestly, I don't even know if she knows she has an Instagram. We set it up because a lot of other, it's just kind of what that dance world is right now. Like even these little kids, which is bizarre. I mean, let's just be real. Like it feels weird and a little off, but it's kind of like, well, everybody has it. Do we need to do it for her or whatever? So it's completely controlled by me. And I mean, I just don't even allow the direct messaging or anything. I just, right, like at the bottom, you just delete all of them, which is what I do with mine as well, just out of, once again, it's a defense. Like, I don't need to see whatever you're trying to send me. And that's, I haven't had anybody be weird yet, but it's always like, I mean, we really never know, right? So, I don't know, I really haven't, that's as far as I've gone with like protecting all that kind of stuff, but it's just like, she's somebody who's going to be out there regardless, right? Like a long time ago, she was maybe like 3. And we were at Target, and it was her, my mom, and myself, and someone just stopped her and was like, wait a minute, are you Ava? And she was like, what? I mean, it was just somebody, a fan who recognized her from Instagram, right? And so it's like, I don't even know. That's kind of there's a learning curve to that, right? Because at the same time, like I realized like some of those pictures, because of the costumes, it's like, so I'm just trying to be real delicate with like what I post and what we share. And I mean, because really at the end of the day, any stalker or pervert could pull a picture of her off of any of our pages or whatever. So we're very cautious about like what's out there and who, you know, like there's no bathtub pictures of my kids out there. There's no, we're, you know, we just do the best we can. But I mean, any sicko could take any picture and be gross about it. So this is it's a weird time.
Very weird time, but it's also the time of social media, right? Like so many, well, every child pretty much now can take a phone and get on it faster than I can and find something, right, faster than me. Almost any adult, so it's their world now. So just out of curiosity, do you have a thought of like what age would you allow either of the girls to be on any social media, whether it be Instagram or Twitter or Facebook? Because I know that's, you know, an individual decision for parents, but do you have an idea of what would be right?
I don't know. Yeah, and that's an interesting question because so yesterday, we got Ava a phone, which is super young for her, but so for instance, this coming weekend, she has a dance competition and convention. And because of COVID, parents aren't allowed in the convention room with her or in the dressing room or anything like that, which is somewhere where last season before COVID, where I was like, you know, I changed her into her clothes. I sat with her for 6 hours of convention class. Like I was right there. Like I don't leave my kids unattended. So this is our first time, obviously, leaving her in this room, which I'm probably just going to sit right outside the door. But we got her a phone. So it's like, okay, you're going to have this phone and it's going to be in your dance bag. And this is only for this, for right now. You can't just, you're not going to have your friends' phone numbers yet. It's nothing like that. It is just that, sorry, something popped up. Okay, it's just for this sole purpose only. If there's an emergency, if you're unhappy, if you're tired, if you don't feel good, you call me and I'll be right to the room. So, but then she did ask about TikTok yesterday, right? Like, well, when can I get a TikTok? Because some of her friends at dance are older,
Right?
have TikToks and stuff, and it's like, well, that's something that, you know, me and Daddy need to discuss. And he was just like, you don't need a TikTok, and you're not getting ones for a long time, so don't ask. So I don't know what that age is, right? Like, because some of these kids have it at 10, some of it at 12. You know, I asked the girls the other day, like, how old do you think I was when I got my first cell phone? And Ava was like 6, and then Lyric was like 5. I was like 18, you guys, 18. There was no cell phones when I was 6, you know, like, so I'm not sure though, not for a long time. It's going to be parent-run accounts for a while.
Rochelle, I have a good tip for you because I have a teenager that's on social media. Bark is amazing. Let me tell you, Bark is like they download an app and you can see everything that they see, and they give you triggers for like suicide, bullying, swear words, sexual inappropriateness. So we could talk after this, but highly recommend. My kid doesn't like it, but I love it. So
it like alerts your phone of all of that.
Yeah,
wonderful.
Yeah. It's you have to go on their phone to sync all the apps, all the social media apps, whatever it is they use, and then you get text and email notifications whenever something in those flagged areas comes up. It's the
That's
best.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Last one for me.
Okay.
So Miriam from the Netherlands says, how did you and the girls adapt to Alex being home 24/7? How different was it? And are you already dreading when he might not be home 24/7 again?
So the adjustment was interesting just because, like I said, like we locked it down. The only thing he did in the beginning was, once like the golf course was open, was like he golfed with Renee. So other than that, though, we were home. We spent a lot of time swimming and doing art, and but it was in this house, it was a really welcome change. If he wasn't in such a good good headspace at the time. Who knows, it could have gone the completely other direction, but it actually was really lovely. Like, I think we were able to really, we were afforded the luxury of, you know, being able to spend a lot of quality time together and just get to like know each other on like a real intimate level, right? Where it's like avid enough to be at school or dance, or we spent a lot of time together. We saw our strengths and our weaknesses, whereas like Alex was not good at the remote learning and I was, so I, you know, did most of that. And while I did that, he had lyric, you know, so that Ava and I could have, you know, the time to get through her schoolwork and stuff. And we just kind of really found a new way to live and to be together. Whereas, you know, like before, I never would have homeschooled my kids, right? It was like, no, my kids are going to have a normal childhood. They're going to go to a public school. They're going to do everything like I did. But now, like, our eyes are totally open to that it doesn't have to be that way, right? Like, we can make our life however works best for us. And Ava's really happy with homeschool. She's thriving. She's, you know, it's been really wonderful for her. And then she's been able to have more time to do music lessons on, you know, Zoom or whatever. She's just been able to explore different things. And then Lyric sees that. So Lyric's like, well, I don't want to go to school. I want to, which she's still preschool age, right? Anyway, but she wants to stay home. And then, whereas like, I was like, and that's a big reason why I never went on tour, right? I never went on tour because I wanted a bedtime, a bath time, school schedule. I think that's all really, I thought that was really important for kids. But this has kind of shown me that we can do things differently. And so when time does go back on tour, we'll probably, you know, go spend some time. I don't like to live out there, right? Like 2 weeks is my max. Can't handle much more than 2 weeks. It's hard. It's not glamorous on the bus. It's so, and it's work for them, right? Like at the end of the day, it's work for them. Like, so, but it will be great to maybe take the girls to explore and see different parts of the world. And, you know, Ava hasn't been on tour since maybe she was 1.5, right? Like, because they did Vegas and all that kind of stuff. So there was no tour. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. But him being home for this long time has been beautiful. And it's going to be interesting to see how the girls adjust to him being gone. Yes. Right? Like that's where I'm kind of worried is they've gone from having him every day for over a year now to him being gone for who knows, 6 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever the case may be. So but who knows how any of that's going to pan out. Like we still don't know, right? So why worry about it now?
Well, thank you for answering my questions. I really appreciate it. Up next, we have Taylor, and she is going to talk to you about a little reflection, life reflections and self-reflection.
Okay.
And also, I feel like we could probably talk to you all day long. We won't, though, because I know you probably have other things to do. No, but I think too, like, I've just really been enjoying hearing this conversation and you just sitting down to even talk with us. And, you know, as a mom, as a fan, I feel like it's just like you're hitting all the marks here. But I think a lot of feedback that people have shared with me that I definitely want to share with you too is that we've really, I'm just speaking for the whole fandom, forgive me, but all the feedback that I've heard a lot is that your voice for social media and social justice this year has really had such a positive impact on people. I think that it's wonderful that you've used this platform, you know, to really spread some good messaging and to really speak up on these things, because it's not easy to put yourself out there on social media. Number one, as a wife, let's be honest, of a Backstreet Boy, but also two, of just to talk about some very uncomfortable conversations. You know, it's not easy. And I think a lot of people have really commended you using your voice for such a powerful platform and to talk about these uncomfortable conversations. They're valued and appreciated probably more than you possibly know. And I'm not just saying that just to say it, but it's really a lot of feedback that if people said that they value deeply, what you say, and really hope that you continue to advocate for those voices. So thank you for that.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. Because, it's, and I actually hold back quite a bit, but there's just some times where it's like, no, I have to say something. And, oh, this angers me so much. Rah, and I tweet it or whatever. And a lot of times I think, like, obviously, if you follow me, I'm fiercely liberal. And so I'm probably not changing anybody's mind, but I don't know, you never know. Maybe somebody sees something and it makes them look at something differently than they would have before, or, and I try not to flood my feeds with all the feelings and, but I just can't not say something, right? Like, it's just so important for me to stick up for really what's right and what's wrong, and I mean, it's really just, I just can't not say something. I don't know. It's too important to me.
Definitely. Yeah, my background is a little bit of like, I mentioned I'm a mom. I'm actually a foster mom, so I've never had my kids biologically. So my younger two are African American, and as you know now, my older child identifies as transgender. So this year has definitely marked a lot of boxes of like things that have really taught me, like, to be quite honest, as a privileged white woman, of growing up and really understanding what's going on with Black Lives Matter. And now, like, seeing like my younger two kids, it's interesting because you do kind of check your privilege a little bit at the door, and it's like it's made me more aware of, like, I was really ignorant about some things, and I think it's hard for people to admit that, and so it's really, like, to your point, like, I thought at first maybe I shouldn't speak up on things because I didn't understand, but now I feel like, no, we have to help be advocates for those who cannot speak up, or to be an ally to people in those communities. And I think that's really difficult. Like, do you feel anything that you, like, has there anything that you felt guilty about or regretted, or like, oh, why did I put that out there? Or, especially like with such a hot climate that it's been this past year, just say that lightly.
No, because it's not, I just think it's never the wrong time to do the right thing, right? So it's like, and whether I lose followers because of it, or friendships or whatever, then you're not somebody I wanted to follow or be friends with even. It's just like, if we're so fundamentally different at the core of our being, then I don't know what we were doing, what our friendship was in the first place, and it's like, and that's with all the injustice, all the, even with COVID, and I'm sorry, but it's like, if you're out there not masking up, I take that personally, because it's affecting hundreds of thousands of lives. It's affecting my brother who can't get the treatment he needs at the moment. It's like, that shit bothers me, and I am going to say something about it. And now I don't feel bad for it, and I still think once again, like, there's a learning curve to all of it. I don't always know what's the right thing to say, or maybe I don't have, I don't know, but at least I can maybe share an article that I read that I learned something from, and if you read it and you learn something too, then that's great. And if you don't, then you don't. But I don't regret any of it.
No, and please don't. I've been enjoying it. Not for me selfishly, like, don't keep doing it for my account, but like you're saying, like, I enjoy it. Well, so actually we had talked to your mother-in-law Denise a couple episodes back, who just love immensely as well, and has said nothing but wonderful things about you too. So, and she's definitely you know, an outspoken woman. And one of the things I was asking was, you know, how do you know when to speak up, or like when to keep it silent, especially like, you know, this year being such a hot climate, you know, like there's people, I mean, even when I talked about my child coming out, there were people on Facebook who were very, really just one person who was like really ignorant about it and like trying to handle that without wanting to fight. Like, how do you deal with that? Especially when, you know, I know you said you identified as liberal, like how do you handle that? Sorry for the long-winded question, by the way.
No. I guess that goes back to like feeding the trolls and stuff, right? Like I don't engage in that kind of behavior because, I mean, if you're coming at me on social media in any way, shape, or form, then I think it says a lot about someone who wants to pick a fight over social media and somebody who's just trying to be maybe hurtful or whatever. I just don't fuel that flame. I just kind of ignore it and move on. And you know, because those are the minds of the people we're not going to reach. And so why engage, you know? And I'm so sorry that somebody, you know, is giving you a hard time about your son.
Yes, yeah,
Right?
transgender son.
Okay,
yes.
son.
Yeah. I'm still learning the pronouns too. It's an
So
adjustment.
I am too, and that's a learning curve as well. My brother and I just talked about this. It's like, well, all I know is that, you know, when I was at Paul Mitchell for hair school, one of the students identified as Andrea, and I just knew that, like, out of respect, you would call her Andrea because that's who she is, right? And then there was the opposite where there was Matt. Andrea was, you know what I mean? So Matt was Matt and Andrea was Andrea, and that's it. And it's just like, you just respect it. And once again, we don't understand, I don't have to understand it, you know, but I respect it, and that's their journey, and I'll do anything I can to support them and make them feel comfortable and accepted. And you know, one time I was at the Apple store and I noticed that the name tag said Aaron, but it was spelled like Aaron.
Mhm.
And I told Ava, hand her the phone, and I just felt so terrible because it was like, I don't know where they were in their transition of, you know, but it's like, it said Aaron, and I should have said, maybe hand it to Aaron or something like that, but I said her, and I just carried that with me because I felt so terrible that I messed up, right? And it was like, it wasn't intentional. It wasn't because they didn't respect where they were or whatever, but it was just an honest mistake that of seeing somebody who looked female to me, but had a name tag that was more masculine. And I just felt so terrible. Like, I just always want to respect everybody in their journey here and just do the right thing. So,
Yeah.
so don't engage in with those people because it's not good for your soul. It's not good for your soul. I know, but it's like, it's just going to get you worked up and not feeling good, you know. Just move on, move past it. That's what I do.
It's so hard because like the mama bear in me wants to, like, you know, be the mama bear and protect and like advocate, because like I'm like, if someone has to advocate for you, it's me, you know, like I got to be that one. So but it's true though, because it's like you just if you know you're walking into an argument that the other person doesn't want to learn or engage in, then, and it's just to get a response, then it's true, you know, like you don't want to give them that response. So I get that. So hard though. Still learning.
Very much. Yeah, no, of course. And I just like, if you're not like gonna contribute to me spiritually or emotionally or mentally, then I don't have time for it. I just don't. I'm not gonna give my good energy to that, you know. Too many other precious people that I'd rather engage with than some
Yeah.
Hate.
People who want to talk, like want to have that open conversation and want to learn. No, they're absolutely worth it. Absolutely. I think there's just like for me a couple more like fan questions. But Brittany from Twitter had asked, for you, what has been the best thing to come out of the pandemic or quarantine for you?
I'm sorry, 1 second. What?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, almost. Okay, go
we're
ahead.
almost done, I promise.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry. What was the best thing to come out?
Yeah, what was the best thing that's come out of the pandemic or quarantine for you?
I mean, honestly, just our quality time together, that's been the best. We've just had so much fun. We've Marvel movie marathons and spend time in the pool and like just quality time as a family. We all got roller skates. I mean, we all just did like just
Nice.
stuff that who would have known, picnics outside, just things that we never made time for. And now we finally are. And it's just being able to slow down a little bit and just really look at life differently and reevaluate like what's important and once again, where to put our energy and where not to put our energy.
Yeah. Do you think that the pandemic too has changed how like AJ is going to be doing touring moving forward? Or like, do you think that now, like, because now all the guys, this is the longest everybody's been home, since their careers. So I wondered like too, if that's going to change, once things like get back to normalcy, I guess, whatever that looks like.
I know they're all very anxious to go back. I mean, they love what they do, right? So it's just a matter of figuring out what that looks like, and nobody knows what that looks like yet, right? We don't know. So, but I do know they're very anxious to get back to doing what they love. They had.
Is AJ?
I'm sorry.
Is AJ just like humming Backstreet Boy songs like on loop, just like popping some?
You would be surprised how much he's not. But he's recorded a lot of songs. They are going to record their Christmas album starting this week, which good. I am like over the moon. I've been wanting a Christmas album for forever. And I'm like,
you and all of us, gal. You and all of us.
I've been telling him for years, and I'm like, fine, if you guys don't do it, then I need you to make some Christmas songs. So they start that this week, so that'll be really great for them, and they're really excited about that. But I don't know, I don't know how it's gonna what tour will look like for them. They don't even know, right? They're still talking about that, so we'll see.
If there was anything like, as you look back on this whole like life of yours, this, beautiful girls, crazy, wonderful husband, interesting life, is there anything that you would change about any of it? Do you have any regrets?
No, because I don't think we would be here now had we not been through all the other shit, right? Like, I mean, I feel like all of the challenges and all of the things that life throws at you there's a reason behind it. There's a lesson behind it. It's like in my past relationship, I never would have stood up for myself the way I do now. It's like, so clearly that relationship gave me the lessons and that I needed to be in this relationship. So it's like, I don't think that, if we didn't go through all of the things, we wouldn't be here. Something like, and you could look at anything you go through in that way, and I just always try to find the lesson and learn from it.
I have two final questions, some lighthearted stuff, and you've been such a trooper for all this. I just love you, thank you, you're amazing.
It's like girl talk. It doesn't even feel like a real interview. I was like really nervous to come on. I was like, still hanging out with some friends.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm available next Sunday for Mother's Day if you're not busy. Anyway, neither here nor there. No, I got two more questions for you, some lighthearted ones. Okay. AJ, as we all know, has dipped his hand into many projects, right? Many, many things that might have started that have not finished. Which project are you glad he never finished? And which project do you wish he would have finished?
That's a really, really good question. Probably unpopular opinion, but I'm glad that he left the country music where he left it. Mainly because he was trying to like fit himself into a mold that wasn't really like true to who he was, you know. And that's actually something that like at the very beginning of quarantine, we talked about that. I was just like, what? I mean, you shouldn't have to try so hard. You should just do what's in your heart, right? And you shouldn't have to like fit in Nashville or whatever. You should just be you, and that's not you. Like, so I'm glad that which I was fully supportive of it, and it was like there was some really great songs and stuff, but I'm glad he left that. Something that he didn't finish. I mean, you guys, he has so many great songs that are just like we all know all the words to, we dance to, we sing to, and like, I mean, the girls especially, and they just never saw the light of day. And
To make that happen.
I'm sorry.
Oh, we got to make that happen. Do you know how many people would love that?
I know, right? But it's just like they you know, because he, and people think that, you know, I've seen some people be like, he would just make up his mind, but he just has such a like, do you remember JC's first solo album that was schizophrenic, right? And everyone said it
very
was
good.
too all over the place. But that is him. Like, he loves so many different genres of music and so many different things. So it's like he's, you know, covered a David Bowie song and then done this other, you know, song that's not, and just like so much. And I wish the music industry, it's not his fault. It's the music industry and the way it works, and him being, you know, right now, like solo, he's an independent artist, right? So everything comes out of his pocket, and it's just a lot. It's a lot. And so there's just a lot of unreleased music that I wish at some point everybody gets to hear, because it's all so good.
Yeah. I love his new song. I love it so much. And even the country stuff too, I was like, he's very versatile, which is really unique to do. So I think it's like, you're right. It's kind of like a double-edged sword. He's all over the place, but he's so good he can do that, you know, and that's not an easy thing to do. So I totally
agree with it.
Yeah.
I agree with it.
Well, if you ever need to debut any of that song, you can always come to us anytime. Any of the music, gladly play it. Last one for me, and if you girls have anything else, let me know. But my last question would be, if you could think of each of the boys in one word, how would you describe each of them in one word, if you could?
Individually or as a collective?
No, individually.
Awesome. Shitty.
No cheating, AJ. You can't cheat. Go.
Hey, I'm biased of myself. Is that fake? Just kidding.
Where is he hanging out that he's like listening to our questions? Oh my gosh. One word for each of them to describe them. Gosh, that's a really tough question.
You can throw a couple in there. I'll give you some leeway if you want to throw a couple words in there.
Can I plead the fifth to that one?
That. I was literally just going to be like, since you didn't use your plead the fifth, you could do that.
I literally, you know what? Like, I'm going to think about this and then I'll give it to you like after. Okay. That's a loaded question. The first thing that comes to my mind would be like, Kevin is a perfectionist. Like, that one jumps out to me right away, but then I just feel like roadblock. Like, I can't think of anything else. I'll have to think about that.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. That's fair. You were holding on to that plead the fifth the entire time. Well played, gal. Well played. All right. Well, I have seriously enjoyed every moment of this and then some. You are such a delight. You have no idea how many people are excited to, watch and hear this interview. And for you to even come on, and I know this is not like your jam, so thank you from the bottom of my heart. Do you guys have any other final words before we wrap up?
I want to say thank you as well. Like, this was awesome getting to know you and getting to know you. Like, yeah, AJ was involved and we asked questions about AJ, but it was just getting to know your core, your heart, where you, as a mom, as a person, we all knew that you were a great person, but having Girl Talk with Ro was definitely a good thing.
Oh, thank you.
I agree on that. I think it was what I needed today to have Girl Talk, because Medina and I talk all the time. So, but I needed like that other girl talk, and I appreciate you spending as much time as you did and to be as open and honest with things as you were.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know who's going to listen to 2 hours, but
I'm going to listen to it again over and over.
Surprise.
They'll listen.
Those are sweet.
Here, just thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course. Thank
Because
you.
I know you're private and a little quiet, and that's okay. But this was fun. This was fun. You're my pretend sister wife. So as an AJ fan, and on behalf of the AJ fans, we really appreciate it. We love you to death. So thank you.
Thank you. I love you guys too, and you're all always so kind to me. And that's why I felt safe. You know what I mean? Like, I felt like this will be safe and it'll be fun, and I felt comfortable. And so thank you guys.
Good. I hope we accomplished all of that for you.
You did. You absolutely did. Honestly, if it wasn't you four, I wouldn't have done it. I didn't see the message. Sorry.
Actually, I do have one last request before we end. If you're okay with this, of course. We're trying to record some promos. So would you be so kind to say, please check out Backstreets Back podcast? And you can
Sure.
Okay.
Just say it?
Yeah.
What am I saying?
You could say, oh, now I'm tongue-tied. Help me out here, gals. Now I'm tongue-tied. Just like, please check out Backstreets Back podcast. Yeah, just keep it simple.
Okay. Should I say my name?
Yeah, go for it.
This is why AJ's a professional. He does this all the time, right? He sets up his light and does all of his readings on his song. Hi, everyone. This is Rochelle Mclean. Please check out Backstreets Back podcast.
Yay. Perfect. You're perfect. Thank you. Have a wonderful Sunday. Happy Mother's Day next week.
Happy Mother's Day.
You're always welcome back whenever you want to come on.
Awesome. You're amazing. Thank you. I appreciate it. You were all so kind, and this was fun. This was good.
We love you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Bye, Rochelle.
I don't know how to turn this off, so give me a second. I love you guys too. Okay.